Today was my first time in a movie theater in 7 months. Since Sonic the Hedgehog back in February, I have not seen, or January, whatever, I have not been in the movie theater to see a movie since then. And I love going to movie theaters. Going to see the movies is my happy place. I can sit there, I can lose myself for 2 hours or 3 hours and just be happy. And I did go see a movie today because the movie theaters down here are opening back up again. Went to go see New Mutants, a movie that has a pretty crazy backstory, which in many ways is more interesting than the movie itself. The movie has been done, I think, for about 3 years, and it kept getting postponed and postponed and postponed. Then when Disney bought Fox, we weren't sure if it was even going to come out. They were saying it might be on Disney Plus, but no, New Mutants is out. This is the final installment in the X-Men Fox franchise, the one that Bryan Singer started back in 2000 with the first X-Men movie. And of course, we have the sequels, we have Deadpool, and now we have this film. And this closes the book on the X-Men, even though you can tell that with this movie they were building up to a sequel based on stuff they were saying in the film. And you can just tell that they're building to a sequel, but that sequel will never come. Because I'm pretty sure Disney and the MCU will be changing all of this stuff, and it's all going to be decanonized most likely. But how was the movie? Well, I went into the movie with low expectations, and it actually was a lot better than I thought. Here's the thing about this film, is I liked it more than Dark Phoenix, which is a good thing. The thing about the movie is it does do something different that I respect. This is in many ways a superhero horror film. The first 2 acts of the movie, the first 2/3 of it, are essentially a horror movie. There's a lot of sort of scares and sort of creepy things that happen in the film. You're not really sure what's going on. You're not sure who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, what's creating what. You just don't know. And as the film progresses, there are little hints and teasers, and then finally, close to the third act, is when you really find out everything. So it is kind of structured like a horror film. And then, of course, in the third act, when you have the actual superhero action, and here we have the New Mutants, which, I am familiar with the New Mutants because, as a kid, I grew up collecting the Marvel comics and the Marvel trading cards, so I already knew about characters like Sunspot and Wolfsbane and Magic and who else is in this movie? Mirage. Of course, they don't really go by those names except for a couple times. And Cannonball, of course. I knew about them. And they were never A players, but it's always refreshing when a comic book movie can focus on some of the smaller characters, not just Wolverine and Spider-Man, the big mainstream ones. But overall, the movie... So, again, let me get back to the film. So, the movie was decent. It was okay. It's probably not a movie I'm going to be watching on multiple repeats just because it's kind of a one-and-done film. And, it wasn't terrible. It's not like it's an embarrassing entry into the X-Men franchise like Dark Phoenix was. And it had some okay performances. Other ones I thought were a little, not very good. For example, in the film... Alice Braga plays Cecilia Reyes, who's a doctor and kind of the main mentor of the group. And, because basically the premise of the film is that it's these young mutants, these teenagers, they heard about the X-Men, they know about the mutant powers, and they have mutant powers, and they're in this sort of hospital that Cecilia Reyes, Dr. Reyes, is kind of in charge of. And in this hospital, it's kind of like a prison in some ways. And their whole thing is... she's trying to help them control their powers. And they're kind of, because they're young and, they don't really know how to control their powers yet, they're kind of rebelling against that. But then, close to the end of the film, everything kind of flips. When you think this is going on, then this happens. So, the twists were, I think, pretty well done, although maybe a slightly bit predictable, not too much. But her performance, I thought, was really wooden. I did not think it was very good. Really, Maisie Williams, who plays... Rain, Wolfsbane, she was she's not the main character. The main character of the movie was Blue Hunt as Mirage, and she was okay. Maisie Williams and Blue Hunt did decently. I think the character everyone's going to be talking about when this movie's over is the character of Magic, a.k.a. Ileana Rasputin, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. I'm not familiar with her body of work at all, but she was a little weird at times in the film, but she did a pretty good job, and the character was great. The special effects, Magic has the most badass stuff to do in this movie. Like, who is the biggest badass of the film? It's Magic, to me. But also Sunspot was really great too. The acting was, I think, kind of middle of the road, if I'm being honest. The villain is not really like, quote, a villain. It's a little bit interesting how it plays out, and to me, it definitely feels like the beginning of a franchise that will never come. Like I said, it will never, ever come. So, there is that. Now, I gotta talk about this because I know it's gonna be a topic of discussion. There is a lesbian relationship and a lesbian kiss in this film. Actually, 2 lesbian kisses. Actually, 3 now that I think about it. I know some people are gonna come on here. I'm telling you this right now. They're going to come on here and say it's woke, it's propaganda, you know the type, you know, the virgins. They're going to come on here and say it's woke. This was not really woke. To me, this was actually the most mature look at a lesbian LGBT relationship we've had on film in a superhero movie, in my opinion, in a superhero movie. Because it played out naturally. I did not feel it was forced. I think some other folks will think it was because there were multiple lesbian kisses, so I can see why people would think that. But to me, it did not come off forced at all, and it actually came off like natural, like it came off like real. So, I mean, look, if seeing 2 women kiss bothers you that much to where you don't want to see this movie, you've got some bigger issues to deal with, my friend. I'm just being honest with you. You got some real insecurities there, buddy, if that's what stops you from seeing the film. Because overall, if you're not going to see this movie, it's fine because not everybody has access to a movie theater. Plus, New Mutants is not really a priority film. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you right now, go see this movie right away. I'm not going to tell you that because the truth is it's middle of the road. It's okay. It's not a great movie. It's probably not one I'm going to be watching again. Like, I watched it once. I got some enjoyment out of it. There are some badass scenes. I will say that, and there's some really creepy effects here and really creepy characters and creepy moments that I think really do echo that sort of horror feel. But it's just not a movie that I really thought like, oh my god, I must have this, I must own it. Like, if it pops up on demand or whatever down the road, you know, on Netflix or whatever, it might be worth seeing there. Or Disney Plus really is where it'll be. But it's just not a movie that I think is that great. Like, you know, the performances were okay. The story was not really all that memorable, but not terrible or anything. It's just kind of there. Like, okay, that's what it is. Fine, whatever. Didn't bother me. It's just an okay movie. Like I said, it's decent. The problem I had with the film really was the editing and the pacing. And I mean, it's very obvious here that there are probably multiple cuts of this film and multiple stories to be told because the editing is so wonky. Like, there's stuff that happens, then they cut away fast to like the next day, and it happens so fast that you're not really sure. Like, something very interesting happens, and the movie, I'm not going to spoil it, and the movie does not let you sit with it. Like, it just cuts to the next scene. And so you're sitting there and you're kind of jarred, like, well, wait a minute, what happened there? Where does this go? Where does that go? And it does that about 4 or 5 times. And so to me, the editing was just bad. It was just poorly edited, you know, and that to me could hurt a movie. I mean, it really can. And like I said, the pacing is really affected by the editing. I thought the pacing itself was okay, but when you have like moments getting cut off and you know, transitions that aren't really transitions, to me it just kind of felt, you know, a little weird. And there are some questions I have about the movie that probably can't be answered. Some questions where I think there's some logic holes here. In fact, there's a couple right off the top of my head, logic holes that can kind of hurt the film. And it's not one of those things where you can sit there and say, oh, well, it's a comic book movie, you have to kind of suspend your disbelief. No, it's logic holes within that universe. Things that don't make sense, that makes the character seem dumb. So that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Like, to me, this is really a skippable movie. It's just, watch it if you want to. I would not rush out to a theater to go see it. I know some of y'all are afraid to even go because of, you know, the pandemic and whatnot. You don't want to get sick. But, and I get it. I totally get it. I went, you know, I wore my face mask. AMC wants you to wear face masks when you're in the building, except when you're eating. And no refills, which I was not happy about. No refills. I still got a refill because I don't care, but you're not supposed to get a refill now for some reason. I'm not really sure why. The place was super clean, though. That's one thing. They definitely have cleaned the hell out of this place. It is super clean, at least the one I went to. So, if it's open in your neck of the woods, go see a movie. I mean, I don't know about this movie, but go see a movie. Either way, this is a thumbs in the middle film. Just wait for Disney Plus, and if you want to see if you have to see all of the X-Men films, all of the Fox Universe films, and you just must see this movie, then just wait for Netflix. I'm not Netflix, Disney Plus. Just wait for that, because it'll be on there. Just watch it there. That's my recommendation. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.